Okay, so I finally finished Resident Evil 4 on my M2 MacBook Air last night. It only took me, what, 3 months, maybe? I know that's ridiculously long to finish a game. I recall the days where I was completing like 10 to 15 games a month in search of gamer score on my Xbox, which was, looking back, I guess it was only about 3 years ago. No, has to be more than that. Maybe 6 years ago, but still, I mean, it was quite recent. But those days are well behind me. Today, I'm lucky if I can finish a single game a month. I mean, with Resident Evil 4, it took me 3 months. I mean, that's pretty sad. It's all work and school and more work and more school and then house chores, mowing the lawn and the laundry and the dinner and keeping the place clean. There's no time for gaming. And man, I'm thankful that I can largely work from home because it's a 2 hour drive to get to work. It's a 2 hour drive to get to school. So the days that I do go in, it's 4 hours wasted on absolutely nothing. Well, I guess it's not nothing. I mean, I listen to audiobooks in the car, so there is that, but either way, it's a lot of time lost. And because of all of these responsibilities and commitments, it leaves little time to play games. And that change in availability has greatly attributed to the change in how I play games today. Ignoring that mobile is likely the most popular platform for gaming, most gamers, and I'm speaking of, the gamers who actually call themselves gamers, they're playing on PC and console. I was, and I still am to some degree, a console guy. I don't have the patience for building and maintaining a PC for gaming. I much prefer the pick up and play nature of console. Nothing to worry about, plug it in, start playing, and you're off and running. But today, I rarely even touch my console. I look at it from time to time, it's over there in the corner, but then I turn away from it. It's not as enticing as it used to be. In fact, looking back, I sort of went through these gaming stages of my life. In the earliest days, when I was really young, back in the Super Nintendo Entertainment System days, the SNES days, gaming was just fun. And I don't mean like it was a bad thing. I mean games were fun. I played games because they were fun. Sometimes I played with friends. Mostly I just played by myself. I don't have any brothers or sisters, so it was just me, but I loved it. Gaming made me feel good. I looked forward to it. And then as I got older, the teenage years, gaming changed a lot for me. It was still sort of fun, but it became a bit of an addiction. I was chasing the fun. And while I was chasing it, I would often get frustrated and angry. I remember distinctly the StarCraft days. StarCraft was all I could think about when it was big. Each day I was at school, all I was thinking were new strategies I could use to try and climb the leaderboards when I got back home. And whenever I lost a game, I got me so angry, so frustrated. Where losing used to be just part of playing a game, it was now one of the most anger-inducing experiences. And then the RPG started. The RuneScapes, the Maple Stories, the Diablos, my addiction to these were on a whole other level. I could not stop thinking about them every day, all day long. With Diablo and Maple Story, I remember spending like 10 hours a day during the summer just grinding out levels. Why? I have no idea. It was purely an addiction. Was it fun? I don't think so. I mean, I got satisfaction from leveling up, I guess, or finding a really rare or unique item. But looking back now, no, it wasn't fun. It might have been fun if I viewed it as a short leisure activity, but instead it was like gambling. It was short events of joy surrounded by long events of obsessive compulsion. In fact, with both those titles, Diablo and MapleStory, I still get these itches from time to time to play them. Hence why I have MapleStory M and Diablo Immortal on my iPad when I need that quick fix. It's like a drug addiction. Then in my 20s, there was another shift. Gaming was still an addiction, absolutely, but the addiction sort of shifted a bit. I largely attribute it to two things. One was my friend at the time, who I played games with, and two was the rise of content creation. Firstly, the friend. I had this friend who, every night, after returning home from work, he would spend several hours on Xbox playing games. His entire purpose in life, honestly, was gaining gamer score on his Xbox. And I can't fault him because his addiction quickly became my addiction as well. We would start to compete each month on who could get the most gamer score. In only a year, I had jumped over 100,000 gamer score on my Xbox account. And I'm looking back, like, how did I manage this? Well, it was actually relatively easy because I was playing a bunch of short, easy titles. They weren't fun. I didn't enjoy playing them, but they were easy to grind out 1,000 gamer score in a couple hours. Some weeks I was completing 3 or 4 games in full just to get the gamer score. And for the bigger games, with more complex and challenging achievements, I was using true achievements, reading and watching playthroughs. Sometimes I had to use looking for group, otherwise known as an LFG, to find fellow achievement hunters to get some achievements, all in search of gamer score. And then secondly was the whole content creation thing. In my 20s, that was when content creation kind of really took off, Twitch in particular. And I'm speaking of like gaming content creation. Who didn't want to stream games on Twitch? After all, it was the promise of income while doing the activities you were already doing. You would have to be insane not to want to partake. And, I wasn't insane, so I had a Twitch account. I streamed some games. I think I had around, 150 followers by the end, which, it probably sounds laughable now, but I was pretty satisfied with it at the time. Unfortunately, as most Twitch streamers will tell you, particularly the, quote unquote professional ones, it literally becomes a job. And that feeling of work translates over to the video games. Games no longer feel like fun. It's not a leisure activity. It's like going to work. You have to make sure to start your stream on time. You got to follow that schedule you committed to. You need to always be cheerful, always be chatting with people. You always need to look semi-presentable. You got your webcam on. You need to play your best. You need to have a professional setup, and on and on and on. It's exhausting. And it's not like your typical 8 to 5. It's different. I know there's streamers out there who play games like it is an 8 to 5. But when you work an 8 to 5, you go to the office, whatever. When you get back home, you relax. Maybe you watch TV, read a book, go for a walk. Maybe you even play some video games. But after finishing a long streaming session, you don't get that. There's something extra exhausting about streaming all day long. I don't know if it's the interaction part of it or if it's the sitting in front of a camera part of it. I don't know what it is, but when you turn off the studio lights, you switch off the camera, you shut down the PC, you just feel drained after, or at least I did. And I was only streaming for a couple hours. And then maybe you think, well, maybe I'll do something to relax. Maybe I'll play some video games. But you can't do that. You just spent several hours playing video games. Games are no longer games. They're no longer fun. They're spreadsheets, they're reports, they're conference calls. That's what games have become when you're playing games like a job. So fast forward to today. Now I have nearly no time to play games. I do not have the patience to sit down on the couch, turn on the Xbox, find something to play, then sit there for an hour, all the while thinking, I could probably be doing something more productive right now. But then enter the iPad, and in a lesser way the Mac as well. As crazy as it may seem, these platforms are now my favorite for playing games. I know it sounds insane, but I simply just don't have the time or patience anymore. And it's not just the time to play, but it's the time to stay up to date on all the happenings in the gaming world. I used to be following all this stuff, the gaming news, watching all the gaming events, recording all the release dates in my calendar of my favorite titles coming up. No more. Now all those announcements, they would just make me anxious. It would completely overwhelm me. I just don't have the time for them. I don't have the mental capacity. So I don't want to be reminded of all the stuff that I'm missing. And that's one of the reasons why I like gaming on my iPad. I mean, how many console quality games launch on iPad? Maybe one a month, if even that. That's enough for me to stay up to date on. It's enough for me to not feel overwhelmed by the releases. And sure, they may be older games like these Resident Evil titles that initially released years ago, but so what? That's no problem. I never played them before, so they're new for me. It just took me 3 months to finish one Resident Evil game. And look at that, another Resident Evil title just recently released on iPad and Mac. Perfect. Next up, Resident Evil 7. Gaming on an iPad it's low investment, it's low commitment, it's low stress, it's casual. And I need gaming to be casual. I don't want it to be an addiction like it has been for most of my life. I want it to be something that I can actually relax with. And with the iPad, that's what it feels like. It feels simple. It is what gaming used to be. And I can take it wherever I go, gaming on the train, in the car, gaming at work, gaming at school, on the couch, gaming on the back porch. It just works and it looks good. I have had no real issues with resolution or frame rates, which is likely because I'm lucky enough to have an M4 iPad Pro, but still everything just looks good and runs well. And I'm hopeful that this iPad gaming trend is going to continue. Apple has continued to speak about gaming at their events, not in a big way, but a significant way nonetheless. And I think that demonstrates their interest and their investment. There are those in the Mac gaming community who are desperate for bigger announcements, bigger partnerships, and bigger ports. And I gotta tell you, I'm quite happy with the state of gaming on iPad and Mac today. Sure, the bigger releases are few and far between, but it gives me more time to actually get to everything that is releasing that I want to play. And I don't think I'm the odd man here. Anyone who plays games on Apple's platforms, they're not hardcore gamers, or they wouldn't be playing games on these platforms to begin with. These are people that are casuals, like me. Or rather, I should say, the ones who are downloading their games directly from the App Store. They're the casuals. I acknowledge that there is a subset of the Apple gaming community that installs Windows on their Mac, or they use Parallels, or they use the porting toolkit, or they use emulators. But the average person doesn't do this stuff. The average person is just playing the games that release on the App Store or on Steam if you're on Mac. And so that is why I like gaming on an iPad. In short, it's simple, it's casual, it works, and it keeps me from getting too overwhelmed. Sure, I wish more titles would come to the platform and that Apple would make some bigger moves, but I'm happy with the current state of play. It's enough to be fun. I'm in a new stage of my gaming life, and the iPad is leading the way for me, and I could not be more satisfied. Well, I mean, maybe if Diablo 4 and Destiny 2 came to the App Store, but otherwise, no, could not be more satisfied. But seriously, Apple, Diablo, and Destiny, come on. Then again, maybe it's probably best that they don't come to the App Store.
Don't worry, darling.